I'm Felina.
And I'm Summer.
And you are listening to Broken Broken.
Because we're both.
The podcast about living your best life by getting real. Hello, broken people. This is Felina.
And this is Summer.
And today we have
Saché Primeaux-Shaw. And yeah, like it's Primo. Like I think we're saying it wrong because not saying that we're saying it wrong. I mean it's French, but like it's Ponca now. So
well, that's the only way I've ever heard it pronounced. Yeah. Is there another way to say it?
Right. Oh, I remember I had a professor at OCU. Like he spoke like I guess fluent French, and he was like it's Primo, and I was like Primo. That's what I said. And he was like not Primo, and I was like. Oh. Okay. So he was like, well, it's French. And I'm like, well, it's Ponca now. So that's how we say Primo.
I never really thought about it. Yeah, so, Primo's the only way I've ever heard it said.
Me too, right.
Let me tell you how you should say your name.
Right,
that's like the epitome of mansplaining right there.
Exactly. Right. So I was like, whatever.
So what do you do, Saisha? Did I say your name right?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so I do a lot of things. I wear a lot of hats, but the main thing that I do is I work with the Ralph Ellison Foundation, and we have reading clinics during the month. And what else? I'm also a part of the Young Democrats of America. I'm the South Central Region Director, and I'm also the Vice President of Membership for the Young Democrats of Oklahoma. And then what else do I do? Well, those are the two main things.
Nice. So you have a lot of free time, is what you're saying?
I wish.
Well, thank you for
so busy.
Yeah, thank you for working us into your schedule. I think Summer and I can both relate to not having a whole lot of free time. So it's nice that this is all worked out and we'll have the time to get together.
I did try to wait until after the election cycle was over before I asked her because I'm like, okay, nobody who's working on campaigns, I'm not going to bother them while they're trying to do that.
No, it's fine.
I don't know. Everybody looked so tired and was going constantly. So I'm like, maybe we'll wait.
Yeah.
So you wear a lot of hats and you're involved politically and socially and that's amazing. How did you get involved in everything that you do?
Okay, so it's really my aunt's fault because she, like, when I was, like, probably in elementary school, I was in elementary school, she used to take my cousin and I out canvassing for different candidates, and the very first one was Senator Angela Munson. I think it was her second term, or it could have been her first election, I don't remember. I know it was, like, a long time ago, back in the early 90s, like, probably 91, 92. And
how old were you? Because you're real young.
Yeah,
so you'd have been a baby.
About, let's see, I was born in 87. I'm really bad at math.
Same.
I think I was probably about 5. Yeah, 4 or 5. And she had us knocking on doors. And we were like, and it was so funny because my brother, he would just hand them the pamphlet, and I'd be like, "Hi, is anyone home?" And he's like, not even asking if they're going to support Senator Munson or not. But she ended up winning that election. And then I also canvassed for Opio Toure. He's late representative for 99, House District 99. And so that's how I got involved. And I kind of stuck with it after high school, and I joined college Democrats at OCU, and so I got more interested in politics that way. But with community work, I was volunteering at the library back in high school, so that's when I was able to meet different people, including my current boss, Michael Eric Owens, who's the director for the Ralph Ellison Foundation. I met him when he was manager at the Ralph Ellison Library, so that's when we connected. And so all of that's history. And that was probably about, I think I was still in undergrad, so that had to have been back like in 2009, that I started doing more community work. So.
And you went to OCU, you said? What's your area of study and your degree in?
Political science and history.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that was fun.
It's a lot of heavy stuff right there.
Yeah, no, I was never very good at history. I think it's because I never had a good history teacher.
Yeah,
but
that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah. I never thought it was that interesting because I was always having gym coaches tell me about a bunch of old white men. I was never that interested.
Oh, that sounds about right. Yeah. All of my history teachers were interesting. Like, my favorite was Dr. Blue Carp. He's actually Creek, and he's like, I remember, like, we were talking about the pioneer people, and he, like, stood on the chair, and he, like, put his coat over his waist and was like, "I am a woman," and like, and then I just walked in like during the part, and I was like,
"What's happening?"
I said, "What is he doing?" He was like, "We're talking about the pioneer people. Nice for you to join us. Say shit, sit down." I'm like, "Oh, okay," and I like sat down. I was like looking at everybody, and everybody else was like, "You shouldn't have come to class today."
Or you would have missed out on something.
Right?
I think it's good you did go to class today.
You'll never forget that.
Right.
You're talking about it now.
That part. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the teachers, the professors, not all of them were, the best, but for the most part, in my major field, they were pretty good. So.
Mm-hmm. And so that has led you, that plus, so you've got a political science background, and then your aunt having you get involved pretty early on in your life in politics, and so that has led you to continue to be active in that. That's great. Do you have like any other personal like things that you're fighting for, or motivations that shape the issues that you hold most important?
I'm Black and Native American, so I grew up like around both sides, and I've wanted to serve my communities, to the best of my ability, and that's why I've always been involved, mainly with like minority issues, or, right now I'm helping out with the Freedmen's Association, the 5 Civilized Tribes Freedmen Association. Like we actually have a youth wing of that. It's not like affiliated, but it's kind of affiliated, but it's not like officially affiliated.
Gotcha.
We just know everybody and they like us. So it's like we're affiliated.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Because we're not official, so we don't have like a 501c3 or nothing like that. But yeah, I'm helping out with that group, and we actually have like a get together we want to do towards the end of May, early June, and so and that's another thing, like in my background, I'm very interested in helping people find their roots, family roots. So I do genealogy, and a lot of my peers are getting interested in it because a lot of them grew up in Oklahoma. So like some of them do have native roots, some of them do have like lineage from former slaves that settled here, and some of my Latinx friends, like some of them are like descendants of early residents that were from Texas and New Mexico, from Mexico. And so it's really cool to like help them like piece together their history too, even though it's much harder for me to find stuff for them, but
right.
And
what nations are you?
Ponca and Seminole.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to say wrong. Which
Not gonna be like some people will be like, you're Pawnee or you're Creek. I'm like, no.
Well, I remembered you were Ponca because of your name, and you said it earlier, and I was thinking the 5 tribes. I think it was Seminole.
Seminole, yeah.
But yeah, we're so similar. Sometimes it's hard to remember who's
right.
who.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I'm shocked on a lot of our stuff is pretty similar.
Yeah.
What are you? I'm sorry. I
Ponca and Seminole.
Okay, and Seminole. Okay, thank you. I've told Summer this. It's actually been since we've been doing the podcast and one of our interviews with Alicia. I was like, I'm Hispanic. My dad's from Mexico, and so I hadn't really identified as being native, but in reality, my grandmother was an Aztec Indian, and I do have that native. But I have no like identity or knowledge of that side of me. Like there's this missing ancestry. So I find like it's been knowing Summer and doing this podcast with her, and a lot of our guests that Summer's had on have a native background, and so
because that's who I spend 98% of my time around.
And that's great because I like feel like
98% of your Facebook friends.
But I've been getting educated on it. We've like heard everybody's stories and stuff, so I'm like enjoying this a lot, and I'm enjoying getting to know all your friends.
Thank you.
That's what I'm saying. I've got a whole other weird. I don't know what my friends are.
Well, it's funny because a lot of times the community work we do and the especially the social justice issues, it's always like the same core group of people, and it's almost all people of color, and they all show up to everything. We're all supporting each other, and we're like, where is everybody else?
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of goes back to the interview that we did last week with Lisa, where she was talking about how in blue states, like, people aren't as active because it's like, well, we've already achieved this, status of being a blue liberal state, so we don't have to fight as hard anymore.
Right, because they're not feeling the effects.
Yeah, and I'm not certainly not saying that like people who are Caucasian in our state don't fight, because I have plenty of white friends who are fighting the good fight here too. But I mean, it's kind of the same idea. Like, if you're not feeling the pressure as much, you're not inclined to fight as hard.
Right.
So it is. It makes sense that it would be the same kind of group of like minority women who are pissed off enough.
Yeah, it's primarily
who are pissed off enough to want to fucking fight. Yeah. So it makes a lot of sense that you would tend to overlap in your groups and a lot. So.
Oh yeah.
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 So what are you currently working on? I mean, I know that you have got you wear a lot of hats. So what's current projects for each of the things that you're working on?
Okay, so first off, we actually have a gala coming up for the Ralph Ellison Foundation. Plug.
Yes. We can provide a link too.
Yes. Yeah. It's March 9th, and it's from, I think the flyer says 5:30. Show up at 6. Because, it's like 5:30, I guess, is like the VIP, what I call free wine and cheese.
Right.
I want to come to this.
So,
free wine and cheese.
Oh, yeah. Right. Absolutely. So the tickets are $85 for general admission, and VIP is $95. But the thing is, I tell folks, it seems pricey. It's pricey for me. But, the money goes towards their programs like the reading clinic and their writing programs, writing seminars they do for in Northeast Oklahoma City, actually, at Ralph Ellison Libraries, 100% free for the public, for anyone to come to, like if you're an aspiring writer, or if you want to, just come and see what everything's about. Like, there's different authors that come in that have books, mainly minority authors that come in, so the money will go towards things like that. So
yeah,
it's a good investment.
Yeah, it's a tax deduction.
Yeah,
sure, so.
yes.
Right. So how do the reading clinics work? What does that?
Okay, so
like?
The history behind that, my grandfather on my dad's side, I say my black grandpa because he's from Bowley, and it's like he just black, they're like,
I love it when she talks about Bowley.
Right? It's like, what's your Grandpa Shaw? Like, because my grandma on my dad's side, she's Seminole and black, and she's actually a former council member. And then my mom's family's Ponca, so they're like, well, what's Mr. Shaw? I was like, he's just black, and he'll tell you too, like, I'm black, But yeah, he's been volunteering in Oklahoma City Public Schools since before I was born, because his kids, my dad, aunt, and uncle, were bused to the South Side, so they graduated from Capitol Hill. And so he's just been volunteering ever since, because he had so much going on, like, back then, like, so many issues back then, to where when we came along, he kept volunteering because it was, like, a whole nother set of issues, like, because we were, like, the kids of, I'm not going to say the kids of the war on drugs, but pretty much we were,
absolutely.
I mean, because we were dealing with, like, gang violence and stuff like that, so he, was volunteering at the school, and, so he was just pissed off the whole time I was in school. The whole 12 years.
He was being active.
That's a constant for a lot of us.
Right.
But that's great that he did something about it,
Yes.
like channeled that rage into something productive.
Right.
Yeah.
He would just like show up in my class sometimes, and he would tell the teachers, "What the hell are you doing?
Aww,
this is
this
the chalkboard. You got them coloring sheets, And I'm just sitting there like, Daddy, like I like coloring. Like don't tell her to give us homework." Right. So anyway, long story short, he wanted to start a reading group with my niece and nephew's school. Like they're the kids there. And so it was at the Edwards Elementary cafeteria, and I remember I was at UCO, I was finishing up my last year, getting my master's up there, and he's just like, hey, he said, I'm starting a reading club at Edwards. He was like, come on and help me with it. And I'm like, Daddy, like, but I'm all the way in Edmond. He was like, come on. he was like, it's starting Saturday, you know, and he like,
I didn't ask.
Right. So he like hung up on me as he usually does. Like after we he never says bye. I don't know what that's about, but like
I think it's a generational thing because none of my aunties or my grandparents ever did either. They're just like, they're done. They hang up on you.
Right. Yeah. He just hung up. Like he said, come on, you know, and he like hung up, and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, you know, like usually I always remember it this way. Like when I'm leaving UCO or like leaving Edmond, I'm like, I just had to like speed down 235, you know, to get to, you know, and this was like every Saturday. And so I was helping with the kids, and we noticed that the third grade reading test was really going to affect a lot of children because a lot of those kids, because basically the school to prison pipeline, which I'm sure both of you are familiar with.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about it on here.
Yeah, like that was pretty much, I feel like, an indicator of that. Like the third grade reading test. Hey, if they can't read at this level by third grade, then we're going to hold them back. So we were concerned about that too. So my grandpa was like, we got to do something about this. So all of our third graders that first year that were a part of the program passed their tests. The ones that came consistently, which all of them did. And so we decided to keep it going. So we stayed at Edwards the next year and did it. The third year was at Ralph Ellison Library because at that time, the manager, Mike Owens, was like, hey, you can just have it here. Like, you know, like instead of being in a school cafeteria, like we have a lot of books here, you know, because we were like struggling to find like books for them and printing and all that. The printing was free. So we went to the library, and that was the year my nephew was in third grade. And Josiah, like, I talk about him all the time on Facebook. Summer sees all the pictures, and like he was,
it's adorable.
Yes, he was like, you know, during that time he was just walking around like, you know, I'm doing good in my classes, blah blah blah, you know. But when he got in third grade, like he was nervous, and like I noticed like a change in him because like literally 2 days before he's just like, oh my God, what if I don't pass the test? I'm gonna be held back, you know. And I'm just like, Josiah, I don't think like that. We're gonna make sure you pass. And he's just like, I might be held back though. He was like, I'm doing well in all my other classes, you know. And I'm just like, and it just pissed me off at that point. Cause so I went to his teacher, and I'm just like, I don't like how this is affecting Josiah, because he's a happy-go-lucky kid, like very rambunctious, and like he's like freaking out because he thinks he's gonna be held back. And like this is not cool, like, because if he's feeling like that, other kids are feeling like
they
that.
do. They create this anxiety in kids. I mean, I've got a first grader that they're saying they want to hold him back because his reading is below level. Because if he can't pass his third grade reading test, he'll be held back. I'm like, well, let's talk about that in third grade.
Right, exactly.
Because he's good in everything else, but in all likelihood, he's dyslexic. Because, of course, you know, at this age, they're like, we won't diagnose him yet, but his dad's dyslexic. My dad's dyslexic. Right. I'm like, kids writing his name in mirror image. Come on, like, how many times? Right. What else do we have to do?
And like, you know, I think kids go through different, like, you know, just as they're going through growth spurts physically, they go through growth spurts mentally too.
That's
like,
true.
I've seen Sophia, my 9-year-old, go from like, you can just see it when something clicks. You know, like all of a sudden math has really clicked with her, and like she's playing piano too. And it was just like one day she started, and it like really resonated, and you could tell like she just turned a corner, and then things started making more sense. And so I think kids I hate the standardized testing system because of that. It doesn't treat I mean, I know that's like the general like complaint with it, but that it doesn't treat kids as individuals.
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's bullshit.
Yeah,
so.
I did not do well on most of my tests actually, and like, you know, I did pretty well in school in general. Like I made straight A's through elementary school and middle school, high school, and I was just like, yeah, I'll pass. You know, I mean, I was still.
I think we all had that moment, right? In high school,
right? I was still in the top 10, but you know, I like took AP, and I was just like, yeah, like this is stupid. But but yeah, I didn't do well in any of, you know, most of my tests either. So I was telling Josiah this, you know, and the day that he took his test, like, we were playing Fight the Power by Public Enemy. Yes. And then, like, he says, man, and then I said, Josiah, I said, you need to take away, you know, a lot from this song because it's a powerful song, you know, for you. And he's just like, yeah, he said, I would tell my teacher John Wayne is racist. I said, no, don't do that. I was like, don't do that. I was like, well, you can, but don't tell I told you.
Because I'm not gonna phone call.
Right, as I usually do when
Yes.
he says something else. Yeah, because
God.
it was great. But he ended up passing his test, you know.
Good.
But the thing is, it just, like I said, like it just really irritated me that he went through that, you know. For
The
that
test
whole
anxiety at
reason.
such a young
Unnecessary.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, to create this anxiety, the situation where children have to feel anxiety.
Mhm.
Like it's too much pressure. It's
Yeah.
bullshit. Yeah.
It is. So yeah, we kept going with the reading clinic. Now it's like we focus on math too, as well as like, you know, just homework in general. Like we call it homework help now. Well, we call it the reading clinic still. It's like homework help too, and it's just, that's a lot of names. Because at first when we started it, I created the flyer. Like I found this clip art of this little black girl who was like reading a book, you know, and it was like a cartoon. And at first it was the Edwards Winter Reading Clinic. And then in the spring, I changed it to Edwards Spring Reading Clinic. And then, like, when school started, I was like, okay. So I put the Edwards Fall Reading Clinic. And my grandfather was like, that's tacky. Just say Reading Clinic. And I'm like, okay.
So it's just evolved.
Right. So, but now it's the Rathfelson Foundation Reading Clinic. So, I don't know. I just want to call it the Reading Clinic. I was like, I want to trademark Reading Clinic. Michael was like, no. So,
Well, it's more important the work you do. So.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's awesome. How many kids are you serving right now?
well, right now we're partnering with, because our actual reading clinic with Metro Tech is going to start, well, they're both reading clinics, but the one at Metro Tech is going to be more STEM based. So that's going to start the third week of February this month. But right now we're partnering with Nappy Roots Bookstore, and actually, it starts from noon to 2. So, like, basically the kids we get is probably, today we had about 6 or 7, but one day we had about 12, so it kind of fluctuates. But it's usually like a group that comes consistently. So, and like the ages are 3 to 12, 13, 3 to 13.
Okay.
So how do they get involved? They just show up, or what do you do?
Yeah, we advertise and they just come. And a lot of the kids that came to the clinic last year at the library, a lot of them were children of friends of mine or friends that I knew or folks in the community, you know, that I was acquainted with. So, but mainly the kids that come are from Northeast Oklahoma City, and they go to Northeast Oklahoma City schools, which it like has an F rating pretty much across the board.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
No,
I didn't find many good ratings all across the
Yeah,
city
right.
when I was moving.
Yeah.
Is this your, how many years has this been in?
This will be the 6th year.
So are you seeing like a steady increase of kids coming in?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So word's been spreading that it's this helpful program that's free.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
awesome. That's awesome. And you get, you've got the gala.
Mm-hmm.
When is that again?
March 9th.
March 9th gala.
At 6. Come at 6.
And where will that be held?
The Oklahoma History Center.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
But so you've got the gala and things like that you do fundraising. Do you do any grant writing or have any funding elsewhere?
Yeah, we write grants. Luckily, I know how to do that now because, like, the first grant I wrote was on accident. I was like, I'm not going to get this money. And then they, like, tell me, oh, you won. And I'm like, what? This is easier than I
Well, you're
You're
probably
the
not
only person
easy.
I've ever heard say it.
Right.
Was easy.
I was gonna say it's probably not easy. You're probably just good at it and smart.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's awesome. So what kind of grants are you guys applying for?
Well, right now, like we have a grant writer with the foundation, so they mainly take care of the foundation grants. But I have written grants for College Democrats and our YDO group as well, Young Democrats of Oklahoma, and then I wrote a few grants for the clinic back before it was with Rathfelson Foundation. So they're just small, like here and there. But
Well, sure, but I mean, like
Yeah.
you've got to have that seed money so that you can do some things and pay some people to not just volunteer. I mean, some people got to get paid. So,
Right.
Yeah, got to make.
gas
We all gotta.
Right.
We all gotta eat and keep a roof
Right.
over our heads. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm just thinking all the unpaid work I've done. I've been paid in earrings before, though. That counts as something.
Yes, it does. Me too. Like, I got a medallion for my work one time. I said, push through with the medallion.
Right? You know how much those things cost if you commission them?
Right, for real.
It's more than that you're paying me in cash,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah, I've gotten to pick out items at places I've played shows. Like, I've played
cool.
at Sandalwood and Sage in Norman. That Buddha sitting on the mantle was my payment. Yeah, I was okay with that.
Man.
I was like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
Although I prefer cash.
Right?
Yeah, right.
My landlord requires cash. He won't let me pay him.
But let me pay the statue of Buddha, unfortunately.
That's funny.
So is that your? So what else do you do? So that was the Raphael.
Raphael.
Raphael. I'm sorry, I'm tired.
That's the first time I've heard it called Raphael.
I don't know why.
That's gonna stick in my head now every time I hear it.
Right. I've heard I've heard Rat Ellison, like Rat Ellison.
What?
I'm like Ralph Ellison, and they're like,
Ellison.
okay.
I don't know why. I don't know where I got Raphael. Sorry.
Raphael Foundation. Hey, it works.
Whatever works.
So that's one of your hats. So what else?
Mm-hmm.
What's going on with the Young Democrats for the year?
Okay, so the Young Democrats, we had to have like a month or two to like recoup from 2018, recoup from that beating in 2018. Yes. But we did get painful. Right. It was painful statewide, but we did, of course, help get Kendra Horn elected.
Yes, I was about to say.
She's the first Democratic woman to represent Congressional District 5. Which was Mary Fallon's seat, so I'm like, ha.
I mean,
got
even
your
on
seat.
I remember during the election results being aired on CNN. Even CNN was like, "There's a blue blip in the middle of Oklahoma."
Yeah.
Like everyone was like, "What is happening?" Change, my friend. That's what's happening.
Yes, we were at the tower.
I was
at the watch party watching. We were watching her race and Nikki's for.
Yeah, Nikki.
So we're like setting this,
yes.
watching the numbers. I'm like, come on,
right?
Let's a little farther ahead, please, because you're making me nervous.
Yes. Yeah. At that time, I was working. Actually, I was working for Nikki. I was doing her field work, so I was her field coordinator. Basically putting people out on the doors, like, hey, like, can you knock this turf for me? Okay. You know, like, they would do it, because everyone loves Nikki. Nikki's such a lovable person, and, I mean, it would be different if she was just, you know, one of those candidates where it's like, oh, we got to help this person because
right.
they're a Democrat.
In the party and whatever. Right.
Yeah, but Nikki is, like, dope. Like, everybody loves her, so she had a lot of volunteers and a lot of help, you know, for that election. But I also worked for the coordinated campaign at the party. I had two really cool bosses who, you know, pretty much let us do our own thing, because I was in charge of Northeast Oklahoma City, Northeast Oklahoma County, really. And they were like, hey, like, just do what you usually do, like, you know, get your community energized and, you know, do what you do anyway. You're just getting paid for it. Right. So that's what I did. So I spent a lot of time working with Senator George Young and former Representative Mike Shelton, because he was running for county assessor at the time. And it was really cool, you know, just to, like I said, like, do what I love to do anyway, but just helping Kendra as well and Drew and, like, the whole statewide slate. So, and actually Drew came to my childhood home to visit with my grandpa, because they were like, hey, you know, which house can Drew go to? One of my bosses, Michelle Tilly, was like, hey, what house can Drew go to? Like, and I'm just like, dang. So I'm looking on the van, like, man, like, where can he go? And I'm like, he could go to my grandparents' house. So I called my grandpa and I'm like, Daddy, Drew Edmondson's coming out. He's like, Drew Edmondson, why? I said, because he wants to, like, meet you and, like, talk to you about your concerns. Okay, let me put my shoes on, you know. So I was like, we'd be there in about 5 minutes. He said, 5 minutes? He was like, okay, and then he just hung up. As he usually does. Notice? Right? So he came by, and, like, there's pictures on my Facebook of them talking, and it was so funny. Like, he got to meet Edmondson and his wife, Linda, and like my nephew was there too, so he was like outside talking about these pictures going on TV, and then he was just like posing and stuff, like, you know, like, and I'm just like Josiah, like.
And how old is he now?
He's 13 now. So he was like posing, and he was telling his wife Linda, he was like, man, I got a new haircut. You know, she's like, oh, you cute. You know, like she says, I love him. I was like, take him with you.
Take him, please.
So funny.
So yeah, that was fun, but yeah, it was good. Like he had come to Nappy Roots bookstore actually that day. He had a big rally, and it was pretty good, like, to see his presence on the east side. But Kendra had actually come to the east side during Juneteenth, and I got to take her around, and it was just funny because, like, she was so, like, in her element. Because at first I was like, okay, I don't know, like, if she's gonna be cool or like I'm gonna have to say something. But no, Kendra was like, hey, you know, like, you got hot dogs, like, you know, and all that. Can I have one? I'm hungry, you know, like, dang. And she was just like really good. She was just like, you know, I would take a beer, but I can't because I'm a candidate. And I was like, yeah. She was like, but we're going to ICE, so that's good. I got one there, you know. So like, yeah, she was eating a lot that day. I was like, dang, Kendra, like, how you stay
so skinny?
I know, right? But yeah, that was fun. So, but that's what I did, like, during the election cycle. And actually, I wouldn't have had that opportunity if I wasn't involved with Young Democrats in the party. So, you know, it's just good, like, to stay in that role. But I am going to run for a higher office in the organization.
I was actually going to ask you if you had any aspirations to.
Yes, I plan to run for president of Young Democrats of Oklahoma. So
nice.
Yes.
Very good. Very good. How can I become more involved? I'm a young Democrat. I don't know if I'm young still. I don't know what the what's the age limit.
Young for their purposes.
So our age cutoff is 41.
Oh, I thought it was like 35.
I've got a few more years.
Leave us out.
Right. It's nationally 35.
36. Oh, that's why I'm confused.
Yeah. But now it's 40, so 40 and under.
Can I lie about my age?
My question is always my real age and my fake age. Yeah. The age people believe I am, or
yeah, I can pass for younger than I look, or younger than I am.
I just tell people you're 25, and I'll tell people you're 27.
27 is usually the age that people believe, so I don't shoot any lower than that.
Yeah.
I'm like, 27, that's right, sure.
Right. Most people think
as long as they haven't met my kids, it's fine.
Right, for real. For real though. Most people think I'm like shooting early 20s.
Oh yeah, I get it. You know, people think I'm very inexperienced young lawyer. You know, they're like, it must be new. Is this your first job at a firm? I'm like, no, it's not. I'm 37.
Thank you for being condescending.
But thank you.
I appreciate that.
Right. Like, what? Like, I'm not an intern. Thank
yeah.
you very much.
My boss actually calls me Felicia the intern as a joke because he knows how much it bothers me.
No, Sasha is the one who sent me a message. Was that last year? Yeah, it was last year. Trying to talk me into running for city council. She's like, you want to meet for dinner or something? I don't remember what it was.
It was
and I'm
a
like,
DOS booth.
what is she up to? So I go there and she's like, so I think you should run for office. I'm like, well, I'm moving out of town in like a month, so that's not gonna work. But
and now we have these podcast episodes.
Yes, I am entirely unelectable. What I'm about now. If you ever listen to our old episodes, you will understand why.
Yeah, I don't think I could be electable either.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
So we've ruined our reputations by being honest and open.
Well, there would definitely not be any surprises.
Like, I've always kind of wondered why no politician has ever tried that tactic. And maybe they have and they just didn't win, and that's why we don't know about it.
There was a governor, I think, candidate out of Arizona who did that. He put it like a whole statement up on his website and everything about, like, I've done this, I've had sex with married women, I've been polyamorous, I've done all of this stuff, and he's like, now that that's out of the way, can we get back? Yes, because if I ever ran for something, I'd have to just do that.
Yes, same. But I also kind of think maybe people would like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe not in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
But people somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remain hopeful.
The churches will pray for me.
Right.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, no.
I had to look through my Twitter and I was like, oh, and then I looked through my Facebook and I was like, oh, dang, you know, like,
clean it.
Right. I didn't clean it. I was like, whatever. Like,
I just leave it out there because everybody knows.
probably think it was like that black native commie, you know, like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, all right. Like,
people got their opinions, whatever.
Yeah, she hates white people. I'm like, that's not true, but okay.
I get told that all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'll call my mom and let her know.
Right.
That's my mom's white.
Right.
I'll let her know.
I'm like, what? Like, no, whatever. So.
You just shouldn't be so hateful, Sash.
I know. I'm just like, what? And it was so funny because I was dating a white guy at the time. He was like white as all get out. And I'm just like, really? But I hate white people. Okay.
Right? Well, you know.
Right.
You hated him so much. You just had to date him.
Right. I just had to.
Now, who's saying that? I mean, why?
Like,
why is that insinuated? Like, why is that, or assumed? Yeah. Like, why?
Well, I feel like a big reason why, and this is in Summer's case too, I'm sure, is like we bring out a lot of issues about discrimination and white supremacy, and that's not hating white people, it's just hating the institutional white supremacy, which anybody can participate in that. You know, like,
absolutely.
I mean, there's perpetuators of white supremacy throughout any community. Like, I mean, we see it with Clarence Thomas. I'm not gonna call him what I was gonna call him. I was gonna call him Uncle Clarence. Anyway, like, we see it with him. We see it with Ted Cruz. Any person like of color that's like perpetuating that, like, they're a part of white supremacy. So I mean, it's, and you know, some people just want to be closed-minded and like they don't want to like see anything outside of their own worldview, which we see a lot of that in Oklahoma. I mean, we saw it with when President Obama ran the first time, they were like, I just don't think we're ready for a black man or whatever. When Hillary Clinton ran, we're not ready for a woman. Like, and it's just like, what? And it's like old white men doing this.
It gets so
for
ugly.
the most part.
It gets so ugly.
Yeah. And it's just unfortunate, but I mean, that's why they say I hate white people.
Yeah, that's usually.
But
Yeah,
well, I guess people probably assume I hate men because I'm always talking about fuck the patriarchy.
When I talk about patriarchy or male privilege or rape culture, I usually get told I hate men.
Yeah.
Like, well,
yeah, I love.
I'm like, I love Lisa men.
Right, for real. Right.
I would not have 5 children if I hated men.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I love men. I just hate the men who perpetuate the patriarchy.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. I hate anything that perpetuates that. I hate the men who don't acknowledge that it exists.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the same thing for racism.
Women can uphold the patriarchy too.
Yes. They can. Yeah, we can perpetuate it as well.
Oh, and rape culture too. Like, I've seen that so much, especially with the R. Kelly situation. Like, well, he needs to just
How
go
many
away,
decades is this gonna keep
for
going
fucking
on?
real, man?
Yeah.
Like the same arguments. I still see the same exact arguments about this I did when I was a kid. I'm like, we're still here? We're still here.
And
I mean, how long ago did he pee on someone? Like,
exactly.
when was that? Like, I feel like that.
It was
2000?
so long ago.
Maybe earlier than that, probably.
I'm just like the.
And that was the videos with the teenager, and then before that, when I was a kid, there was like the Aaliyah thing. She was like 14, 15.
She was
I'm like,
14.
This has been known all these years.
I mean, there's been Saturday Night Live
still arguing
skits
about it.
on it. You know, like right now, I keep having this song running through my head from a Saturday Night Live skit about an R. Kelly song being turned into "I want to pee on you, piss on you."
Oh God!
And it was so bad.
Was it Dave Chappelle?
Oh, maybe it was.
I think it was
yes,
Dave
I thought it was the Saturday Night Live.
Sounds
skit,
about
but you're right. It was a Dave Chappelle special. You're right.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's been going on for a while. Like, let's just once and for all get rid of him.
Yeah.
Keep having the same argument.
Yeah, he needs to like be in the same cell with Bill Cosby and what's that other guy that they're trying to get?
The
director.
director.
Narrow it down because there's a lot.
Weinstein.
Yeah. He needs to.
They can all just share a cell.
Right.
Fire and call it a day.
Yeah. Apparently, Bill Cosby. Right.
You hate men, Summer. Stop.
Apparently, I hate you. I think you make wonderful kindling.
Right. Apparently, Bill Cosby's like acting like a real doctor, like prescribing people medication. They're like how he's actually Dr. Huxtable in prison now. And he's like telling people, like diagnosing
Well, I
people.
imagine that's the first thing people want him to do anyway. Is like Well, because that's what he's well known for, right?
Happening.
So that's what happens when you're well known for a character. People ask you to do that anyway, so why not just go with it constantly while you're there?
Oh my god, this is so bizarre to me.
Yeah, he's probably like, well,
has
the
he
first
lost
thing
his
you got
mind?
to do,
Right.
you know,
Has he lost his mind? Is
I
he
think
like?
he's lost.
Well, I feel like he was slipping anyway, because he is.
So now he's
kinda
pretending
older.
he's like actively taken on this other persona in prison as Dr. Huxtable.
He's
You
Dr.
might as well.
Cosby.
You might as well.
And he has no doctorate degree.
He does, but
A
he's not.
physician,
Not a
doctor.
physician.
There,
He's not a
yeah.
He cannot prescribe.
He's a
things.
doctor, but he's not a doctor.
Yeah.
He's not a doctor. Like
Yeah.
that, you know?
Oh my god, that's bizarre. I had not heard this.
Yeah, I was reading and I was just cracking up, and then like my brother was like, "What are you laughing about?" Because I sent it to him. Like I said, "Mari, look at this," and he was just like, "What?" Like he said, "Why is he doing that?" I'm like, "Cause he's crazy."
And
Like,
you know, it works. Why not?
He's a nut. Like that's just what's wrong with him. So
Oh my
I
god.
don't know. It's Bill Cosby. I'm like,
You know.
Yeah, well, he doesn't exist to me anymore. So
Yeah, I did get this
don't pay him
meme.
any more attention.
Right, I did get this meme on Facebook. I guess they said it's been 30 years since Vanessa had Big Fun. You know, the Big Fun episode, like
I
where.
do remember that episode.
Yeah, it was like you just want to go out and have big fun. Just go, and like I was just like, why? Like I can't even like think about Vanessa. All I can think about is like Bill Cosby, and I'm like, ugh, because he was just being weird in that episode too, talking about the big
weird
fun.
in all the episodes. He was just weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And we celebrated that for
And
so
well,
long.
and the thing is, when I was a kid, I loved the show.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like see him as his character, like a lot of people, because my family did not properly shield me as a child from content I probably shouldn't have been exposed to. And so I heard his stand up talking about giving Spanish fly to women and doing all this. So I'm like, okay, he's a little creepy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
So it
Full
was-
House and what's his face?
I can't remember his name.
What's his face?
I can't either.
His comedy is so crude.
Oh,
but
the
he
dad?
played such a wholesome
Yeah.
dad on Full House. What the hell is his name? Why am I drawing a blank right now?
I was about to call him Joel Osteen.
Oh, Joel
Now
Osteen
they
is
kinda look like
terrifying.
it.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me tell you, you just like happened to name the person who terrifies me the most in this world.
Really? Bob Saget, that's his name.
Oh, duh.
But why does
Hold on.
Joel Osteen creep
Creep
you
me-
out?
What? I mean,
I'm just asking for you in particular
look at
because
him.
there's a whole list of reasons it could possibly
Oh yeah,
be.
I mean, well, hey, look at him, and just his whole like he. Well, just if you listen to him speak,
Look at it.
and like
on
he's-
SpongeBob, Patrick. Look at it. Look at it.
But like if you listen to him on his evangelical like rants, and it's just creepy. I don't know. It just when I've heard him speak, and it's so sociopathic and like gaslighting and manipulative and transparent to me, and people just like flock to him and believe him, and I don't know. He just really like he's like the Antichrist to me. Like he's scary. Like I just
There are
he is
millions
a
of others
false
just like him.
like I know there are, but like he just epitomizes all of them for me. Like he's their representation, and so he just really creeps me out. So like if you ever really want to creep me out, like the scariest Halloween costume you could ever have is dressing up like Joel Osteen. It's just terrifying to
I will
me.
keep that in mind.
He terrifies
Right.
me.
It's like find a curly mullet. get a suit.
Yeah, why
you know.
has his hair not changed in like 20 years?
Again, it's just it's all so creepy. I don't know. Ugh. Yeah, sorry. He just really creeps me out, man.
My grandmother used to watch with all of those guys.
I can't.
Yeah.
I just
T.D.
ugh.
Jakes is her favorite. But she'll watch Joel and she'll watch.
And I don't
Is
understand.
Creflo still on the air?
I don't understand the
know.
mentality
She
of
used to
the
watch him all
people
the
who
time.
want to like what is it about people, like what is it that drives people to like need someone to like idolize or believe in or follow, or like I don't get it. I don't know. It's the whole group think mentality, I guess. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't get it.
It is. I mean, it's comforting to her because she was raised apostolic.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have that very limited view of the world is comforting to her.
Yeah, I know. And I guess
For
it's
whatever
just,
reason, even though it's completely irrational.
well,
It makes her feel better.
We could go off on talking about this forever. We've
had entire episodes about this.
Yes, so I'll refrain from rehashing more.
I was a preacher's kid, so I have lots to talk about.
Oh yeah, PKs usually are like, oh my god.
Yeah, this is how you got this. This is what happens, people. Don't do this to your children.
Right? Yes.
Well, other than the gala, do you have any other big things coming up for any of the organizations that you work with?
Well, Young Dems, like, we have our convention coming up April the 27th. So that'll be at the Teamsters Union Hall. And yeah, like, if you're under the age of 41, you can come and
I need
be a
to.
part.
Yeah, I need to. Yeah. If you guys need any performers, I know all the musicians around and have a band myself, so we can help book entertainment too.
Nice.
So let me
Okay.
know. I'm plugging myself, but I also am plugged into the rest of the arts community. So I know, and I've actually got somebody in mind even. So
Okay.
yeah, so we'll talk.
Cool.
So I know I'm going to ask your favorite question.
Oh geez.
Why should I vote or be involved in politics? It doesn't matter.
No, Lord.
I love that.
Okay. So, and it's funny because I do get asked this a lot.
A lot.
So I always have a,
I think every
answer for it.
panel I've seen her on, other than the movie panel, was
Yeah.
as you've been asked this question.
I'm like, well, no. I don't know if it should. Trump's off. No, I'm just playing. But, well, it's important, I'm not going to, go on the whole cliche. Well, people died. I mean, people did die, for, to, get folks really just involved in the electoral process. I won't say for our right to vote, but, I mean, there were people that were getting killed left and right, in the South for us to be able to, even participate. But I think a reason, especially today, especially as people of color, in predominantly, Black, Latinx, Native, Asian communities, etc., is that, you want to make sure that the right person or a decent person gets elected, because you could have so much worse, as we're seeing now with Cheeto and Chief, I mean, it's so important. And then it's not just about getting people elected, it's about just being involved in the process to see what's going on, to see how you can change the system.
Being engaged,
yeah, because it's so important, especially in Oklahoma, as we saw with Nikki Nice, she got elected, and she's a part of, Nikki is the community, and we need someone like her to represent us, because if we're not involved, it will be somebody who probably looks like us, but somebody who is bought by the system, who's bought by the not the chamber, but I'm not gonna talk about the chamber, but bought by just big money, big oil, whatever,
some sort of special interest lobbyist.
Yeah, and Nikki's not a part of any of that. So I mean, you do want somebody who is like you in the community. So I mean, that's really a big reason why I stay involved, because I was actually asked by a friend, so what are your politics? And, I told him I'm involved with the Democratic Party primarily because there are a lot of people in my community who vote but don't really know what's going on. They need to know what's going on. So I'm the person to tell them, and that's why people ask me, hey, what do you think about this person? I'm like, oh, they're great. You should vote for them. You should do this for them. Other people, I'm like, you want a political answer?
Which answer do you want?
They're like, they ain't shit, right? That's the answer they want. So, but yeah, I mean, and that's why I stay involved. I just think it's really important, especially now, because I mean, we have some fools. We just elected somebody who did not vote. He voted 4 times in his entire life. Yeah, it's just that's ridiculous. There's no reason he should have been elected. But.
And politics really does start on the local level.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it does.
That's where you can effectuate the most change. I feel is really paying attention locally, and because I know there's so many people, and I used to be guilty of this when I was young and didn't give a shit. Only voting during the presidential election, and I mean, I think there needs to be more political education on with kids at a younger age, so that when they become of age, they can understand why it's important and begin voting early and often.
I think so many people don't even understand how policy is made.
Do a survey of 18-year-olds and ask them if they know the 3 branches of government are even. Just like basic shit. It's really sad. I've always, and I've contemplated and never done anything about this thought, but of looking for some sort of grant for political education that was nonpartisan. I mean, I feel like that's really needed.
It is.
It'd be an interesting nonprofit. Perhaps your next project.
Oh.
Let me a new one, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Create that project, 8th day in the week. Don't you have time to do this?
110.
Well, we will post a link to the events that you've got coming up for Ralph Ellison, not Raphael.
Yes.
Gala on
March. Rat Ellison.
On March 9th, you said, or 2nd?
March 9th.
9th. Okay,
yes,
and
Saturday,
then the Young Democrats convention April 27th. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Send me those over and I will put them on there.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can contact the podcast at brokebrokenpodcast@gmail.com. The Broken Podcast can be found on Twitter @BrokeBrokenShow, on Instagram and Facebook @BrokeBrokenPodcast.